Today, my very special guest.
Yes.
You took Bart all the way to get out here.
I did. And an Uber.
That's love.
I did.
A Bart and an Uber.
Yeah, I know how traffic is getting to Hayward from the city.
Most people I got to send a driver. But not with my guest today, Kimmie T.
Hey.
The one and only is, first of all, it's very nice to see you again.
Oh,
we hung out like a week ago.
Yeah, I know.
We were doing like the same shit, you know?
I know.
I'm glad to see we could just pick up where we left off.
Hey, always a friend.
And for those of you who don't know, I met Kimmie T in the radio industry right here in the Bay Area. I've known her for like 6-7 years now, maybe.
Yeah, that's a safe number.
Yeah, because that's how long I've been in radio.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
almost 10.
Almost 10. Let's round it up.
Almost 10.
So I'm glad that you actually like responded to my text, because sometimes people will think twice about doing this podcast because it's very specific.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes they don't, they don't really see where I'm coming from with this whole concept, right? But you responded back immediately, and you had like a plethora of things that you could possibly talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure.
No, but I think I'm glad that you had like a variety. You know what I mean? That way I could kind of be like, okay, I can prepare myself for this. But before we even jump into the story, though, I do want to ask you, though, you know, I was asking you about the acronym a little bit earlier before we started. And no, it's not tiny horses you Google, look infected forever. That's an inside joke. You guys aren't going to understand that. Thug life.
Thug life.
Tiny horses you Google. But I told you the acronym about, you know, what the acronym is for this show. T.R.A.G.I.C.
That's right.
Time renders all great injustice comical. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you think about that. Like, does that make sense to you? Do you see some logic behind that?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, even, injustice doesn't always have to be involving the justice system.
Right.
Like you can
see
have
what I'm saying? Yeah.
Injustice of the heart.
Exactly.
Injustice of doubting who you are as a person.
Exactly.
But it's not always, you don't always have to have a judge and a jury involved.
Right.
Sometimes you are the judge, the jury, and the executioner of yourself.
Absolutely.
So,
we put ourselves on trial all the time.
Yes.
And other people put us on trial all the time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And if we're being 100% honest, sometimes we put people on trial all the time. We be judging too.
Well, on my way over here on Bart, I did judge the man who was carrying a great piece of rolling luggage.
Okay.
He had on running shorts, a backpack, a little puff jacket, but he decided to have resistance bands around his thighs.
Wow. Well, maybe he's just working out on the go.
He was working out on the train.
Get the fuck out of here.
He was doing muscle ups on the train with a resistance band around his thigh. And of course, I was like, sir,
right,
you're doing a little much.
You put that man on trial.
Like Planet Fitness is open somewhere.
That's so funny. And you look at that guy and you're like, dude, you're not going nowhere. Why you got luggage?
I don't know. He got off on Coliseum Bart. I don't know where he was going.
Yeah.
I don't know where he was going, but shout out to him.
Shout out. I hope you got there.
Fitness.
Yeah.
He was
with the fucking resistant bands.
Yeah.
But tell me more about this, in this concept of what injustice is, because you're right. You were talking about injustice of the heart.
Uh-huh.
What does that mean?
For instance, like the obvious is when people aren't being honest in a relationship. I think you're doing yourself and the person that you're with an injustice because, justice wants to seek the truth. Justice is about being a hero, being heroic about the actions that you take. And if you're in a relationship with somebody and let's just say you're cheating on them, that's you're doing yourself and the person that you're with you're an injustice. Or on the flip side of the coin, if you know that this person, you might like them, but you don't love them.
Right.
And you're keeping them around for whatever reason, that's also doing an injustice. It's when you are...
It's like you put all this extra weight on yourself for nothing.
Well, yeah, or for what you think is something.
Right.
And then, like you say, it turns comical. Because when you do look back at it, you're laughing at the person that you were with. You're laughing at yourself.
Yeah, the person that you were.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking clown. Like, you stupid ass. And you start laughing. Like, why did I ever do something like that? So I get the full circle, and I totally understand the concept.
But you wouldn't have laughed. One of the key things is time, I think, because you wouldn't have laughed at it the day after. The day after it happened, it takes a little bit of time sometimes, and there's not the same amount of time for everybody.
Yeah,
some people can get to the laughing part soon, and some people it's gonna take a while for them.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, but at some point, I think that's when you know that you've healed from whatever pain that it is when you can laugh at it.
Absolutely.
You can say, you know what? You just shake your head, even if you don't like audibly laugh. You just have that chuckle in your head, like,
yeah.
Woo! Okay.
Like that was me.
Yeah.
That was really me.
Hey.
I really lived that
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that because so with that being said, I'm really curious about your story. So please share with us your tragic tale.
My tragic tale, the key player, the main character, other than me, is my father, my biological father. I have made a choice to be, I don't know, what's the social media term for it? Are you parentless by choice, or there's something of that nature?
Yeah, you're for you like being parentless, like you're choosing that.
I'm choosing that
Yeah.
route
Okay.
because
You identify with being parentless.
yeah, on that side of the coin, me and my mom are best friends.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We're yin and yang, freaking frack. I talk to her every day, multiple times a day. 100%. That's
I've even talked to her a couple of times on air.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
She's the sweetest woman, Pierce, the sweetest woman in the world.
She is.
And she's from Middle America, so
She's
she has like
Minnesota
that.
nice.
Oh, how you doing?
Minnesota nice.
Oh, where you going? Where you headed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But when it comes to my father, I made a choice to just cut him off. And it took 35 years. So my parents split up when I was 12. And when you're 12, you're going through so much. You're going through puberty. You're trying to figure out if you're a popular kid. You don't know anything. So I ended up going with my mom. My mom raised me as a single mom from point when I was 12 or whatever till now, I guess, if you want to say. And over the course of their separation, I didn't see my dad very much because, he moved on and went on his merry way. But once I got older, like 15, 16, and had thought, I've healed from this, and would invite him to, father-daughter dances at the high school, and he would call me the day before and be like, oh, I can't go,
Damn.
Or, he was in a long-term relationship with a woman in San Jose for many, many years. And I have vivid memories of her calling me saying, I know you and your dad had plans tomorrow, but I'm going to take him to Monterey for the weekend or whatever it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
was it because he was just too afraid to do it himself? Or?
Correct. I believe.
Wow.
And I still, and to this day.
Yeah.
And it's to this day.
Right.
So, that was my teenage years. And then in my 20s, I guess I would try and have interactions with him, but nothing really of, true substance.
Yeah. Or they just like high and by?
High and by, not really like, I didn't spend the holidays together. And here's where the family dynamic comes into. He is the eldest of 4. So I have 2 other uncles and an aunt on my father's side. I am still involved with them every single day. Like that side of my family is my local nest.
Right.
With the exception of the person who brought me here, which is my father. He doesn't even engage with them. So he's always been like the black sheep of his own family. And now he's the black sheep of a family, even more so with me.
Yeah.
And so, you can only like burn your hand on a stove like so many times before you realize like, okay, I'm kind of like giving up on you.
Were you vocal about it when you were young?
No.
Did you say it? Did you speak it? Or?
No, I was super protective of him. I was so protective of him, because you have like those memories of being like when I was a little girl, I was the princess and I was this, that was my dad and everything. Like he fit that mold of, yeah, you have a daddy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's Pops, Yeah. So I was very like hyper protective of him, and I would much rather not even acknowledge like the disappointment than go there and like have to think about then really have to face it. Like really just have to look it dead in the eyes and say, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that went on for about 10 years of come and go hot and cold, come and go hot and cold, kind of checking in, just feeling obligated. Yeah. It was out of obligation more so. That's your dad. Like you have to you have to stay in contact with your dad.
Gotta be
like
there.
that's your dad. You only get one.
So
blah,
you
blah,
you
blah.
value the concept of family.
I do.
Even though your dad may have disappointed you, like early on in life, like certain times, you still valued it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, you think as a daughter, this is your dad, you know, he was born in the 40s. Like, he's not going to be here forever.
Right.
So, you know, let's nurture and But then there was a breaking point. I think I was 35. I think about 6 years ago. 6 years ago? Probably. Coming up on 10, as we say.
Round up.
Round up.
It's more epic that way.
Yeah. So my father has a penchant to gamble. All right. He's a gambler.
Dads.
He always has fun. Right. So he called me and he asked me for money. And I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, the Warriors are in the finals. I know exactly what you're up to.
No.
Yeah. I knew it. He didn't say what the money was for, but I'm like, the game is Friday.
Wow.
I know what you're doing.
As soon as the fourth quarter ended on the last game, he called you up. He was
Probably.
like, hey.
You know. So he asked me for a few $100, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, I got rent to pay. Yeah. I'm not gonna. Come on, bro. Like, no. And the next time I called my mom or I talked to her, she was like, she could tell someone was wrong. I was like, I'm done with him. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to be the daughter that's giving my dad money to gamble. Like, he is way too old. Like, he's just too old for this. Like, what are you doing? Like, enough. So she, being the mama bear that she is, she took it upon herself to call him and say, look, we don't talk, but there's no reason why you should be calling Kimberly and asking her for money.
Right.
Like, you're really out of pocket for this. Like, whatever you're going through, you dug this hole, but I'm her mom, and I'm going to tell you right here, right now, I'm going to go to bat for her, right, and let you know that I'm still here,
now,
you know?
You were 35 when this happened, but was that the first time that he had done something like that?
That blatant, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
other times it was indirect or what?
Other times it was like it was an indirect. It was like indirect.
Yeah.
But you know, you're asking me for $250 when the finals are coming.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to your PG&E. You're on a fixed income. You're a senior citizen. Like, you're like, what do you need $250 for? So. Right. So she went to bat for me, whatever. She told him, you know, leave her alone. Good luck and God bless. Just whatever. So he calls me and he's like, I just got off the phone with your mom. You know, I don't understand like why you would bring her into this. I said, I didn't bring her into this. I said, I tell her what's happening in my life. And you pissed me off. Like, right. You're asking me for money, and I know exactly what you're doing it for.
Right. He provoked this whole thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Cause and effect, you know? So then he starts talking about my mom. And I know I blacked out on what he said, but I'll never forget what he said. You know, this is what he said that I was like, okay, I'm going to give you what you want.
Okay.
He said something along the lines of, oh, you know, I've always had my doubts. I think you and I should get a DNA test. At 35? So I said, you don't
And he's always had doubts.
All of a sudden.
But not when he's asking you for things and...
Right. I said, you know what? I said, there's no need. I said, I'll give it to you right now. You are not my father.
Wow.
And that was it. And... it was a big deal. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, this is it. Like, you've crossed the line. Like, not only are you just going to be just rude and say, oh, I want a DNA test when you're 35.
Yeah.
But you're being disrespectful to the woman who raised me.
Yeah.
You know, you never paid child support. I went to public schools. I got whatever I wanted. And she never asked you for a dime.
Right.
Even, like, you crossed the boundary. You know, the same way that she went to bat for me when he asked me for the money, I owed her. Like, this is it. this is it.
There has to be like a level of honor that we all have to reserve. There's like, even if you only save a nugget,
Yeah.
you got to save some. And if you, in that moment, it must have felt like your dad just abandoned all of that.
It did.
I said, you know what? I don't need to
He
show
did.
no honor
He did.
in this situation.
He did. And, and after that, thoughts, realities just started clicking, full disclosure. I have at least 2 siblings that I've never met on his side. I found out I had an older brother when I was 10. To this day, I have no idea where he is, know nothing about him. And shortly after my parents split up, there was whispers around my uncle and stuff saying that my dad had another kid and like the lady took him to the Philippines. So I look at myself, I'm like, okay, I'm the middle child. You already had a kid before me and you clearly weren't there for them in any way, shape, or form. You had a kid after me and you weren't there for them in any shape or form. And then you had me and you were there for me for about 12 years. But then after that, you weren't there for me. So this is par for your course.
Right.
You are not a good father. You're a man. You're a good bowler. You know how to swim. You're autistic. You have a good voice. That's where I get my voice from. Like you've got a lot of characteristics. But when it comes to being a father, you suck. And it's a matter of I'm not here to. I can't teach him how to be a dad. It's just I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. All I can do is accept that, we have some really good times. I've got some great pictures and I know who this man is and I know what personality traits I get from him. Like I know who he is, but to invite him to be an active part of my life would just set me back. There would be no healing. If you can't even take like responsibility, he refuses to take responsibility for anything.
Did your dad, throughout the time that you were a child and a young adult and now, like did he ever show like any, in terms of being a father, did he show any redeeming qualities at any point? Or were you just like 100% set on always supporting him and hoping that something could happen there?
He was a great dad. It was fantastic. Like if though when I was young, he was there for me, He'd pick me up from school every single day and we would bump Anita Baker tapes, and show up to my karate tournaments. He worked, extra hours for me to get a scholarship, to be in a choir. So, he had years of really good, incredible things. Yeah. But there's just a different side of his personality where it stops, And I know he's a hard worker. Yeah. He's always kept a job. He's not a bum or anything. But there are aspects of his personality that, I don't know if it's he thinks he's a victim or
victim mentality, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe that. Some unresolved trauma from his own childhood.
What did he show that makes you think that's
just the isolation? Not wanting to intentionally like not showing up for your own family. During the holidays, like you're choosing to put yourself on an island of exile, right. even though you've given nobody any reason. Right. There's nothing to be embarrassed of, and I don't think that he's a man who's, if he's found his truth, he hasn't shared with anybody what it is. Right. He's slick. He's got a personality. He's got that je ne sais quoi that, he walks into the room and
the charm.
Yeah. So, I think that when you know that you can get by on that for so long, you start using it on the wrong people.
The worst part about that, though, I could imagine that if you keep doing that long enough, you put so much stress on yourself, because the truth is that like it takes a piece of you when you are charming like that, and then you use that to manipulate and to hurt. It rips a piece out of you. It does, because you're wasting it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 100%. It's a good thing to have gravitational pull. And people want to be around you. That's a beautiful thing to have. if you let it go by the wayside and you don't use it the right way, I mean, you're really just you're letting it go down the drain for no reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, from that moment, you know, how it's parlayed for me, you know, even though people say, oh, how could you do that? How could you cut your dad off? I'm like, well, look, if I can cut my father off, I can cut anybody off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have that fear, that trepidation of what's the worst that could happen if something's not working for me. Like, this guy, like, I held in a highest regard. Like, he was in my trophy case. You know, it's your dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? But then once you realize, like, well, he cheated to be there.
Right.
You know?
Right. Is the champion still the same champion? If
right.
you find out the way that they did it?
Right.
Or what they did along the way?
Or what they did along the way. So, you know, I definitely, you know, I can laugh about it, you know, now. You know, and I tell, and like and I think that there's so many people who, when I tell them what I did, they look at me at first like, what? How dare you?
Right.
But I tell them, look, why? I need to protect myself. I have to, you know, show respect to the woman that raised me.
Right.
You know, and again, it's like if he has a pattern of not being a good father, why would I set him up to disappoint me again? That would be stupid. It's like going to a restaurant that always gives you food poisoning and saying, you know what? Today's the day you don't.
Right? More octopus, please.
Please. 3 days old, give it to me.
Bring the calamari.
Exactly.
Right now. Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
does it feel like a weight, you know, do you feel like a weight has been lifted off of you just by completely saying, okay, I'm done with this, trying to make this relationship work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. You know, and, you know, not everybody agrees with me. You know, I've gotten into conversations saying,
like other family members?
No, my family, people in general.
Mm.
You know, they're like, "Oh, you talk to your dad?" I'm like, "No, I don't talk to him. Is he alive? Yeah, he's alive. Is he in the state? Yeah, he's in the state. But you don't talk to him? No."
What's their reasoning? What do they say?
That you know, blood's thicker than water, and it doesn't matter like what they did. You know, you're supposed to. You know, that's your dad. Like it always comes back to that's your dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I know this.
Yeah.
I know that. But I'm not going to give him another chance to be a bigger villain. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I could tell my story.
Yeah.
Because I know there's millions of people out there who want to do what I did.
Right.
But they don't understand. They are, you know, afraid of what's on the other side.
Why do you think people do stay in that state, you know, where there is just like a repetitive motion trying to fix something that can't be fixed? Why do you think they choose to stay there as opposed to just going the other route?
Societal expectations. I mean, and if you look like both my parents obviously are baby boomers. And I think that the children of boomers are slowly awakening to the fact that our parents are the generation in the most need of mental help. You know, their parents came back from the war with PTSD and the government was like, we'll pay you to have kids. Right. We'll do this. Like, It doesn't matter if your dad shot up everybody in World War II or the Korean War. You're going to get bonuses for having babies. And going through like the industrialization of America where, you know, women were leaving the kitchen and going to work for the first time. I mean, like that generation really got the short end of the stick, you know? So I think people in their 60s, late 50s, 60s, 70s are just walking around here, you know,
stressed the fuck out.
Going from, you know, Model Ts to the internet. Like they have lived through so much in the last 50 years. And, you know, we're sitting up here now in 2021 where things like mental health is celebrated. Yeah. It's encouraged. It's part of your day to day. You know, people didn't ask us or our parents, how are you feeling? Like, what's your mental health? It was called mental illness. Right. You know, if there was.
That sounds worse.
Yeah.
Illness.
It was mental illness. Yeah. You know, your uncle's mentally ill. Well, you know, your sister's mentally ill.
Yeah. But now you don't even hear that term that often anymore.
You don't.
You really don't.
You don't. So there's just been this, you know, transformation, I'm going to say, within the last 20 years.
Right.
You know, where people are willing to say, I'm not okay. or, I'm noticing something with my child, at a very, very young age, as opposed to being, oh, my kid's just different.
Yeah.
Or, oh, no, Timmy's just obsessed with, airplanes.
And those people grow up living in that culture. You grow up, you don't get any help for what you feel emotionally or what you're going through mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a family.
Right.
And then you have kids. And that's how you raise them, with that kind of, with that thing always looming in the background.
Yeah.
Like it'd come out at any moment in some way, some different ways and different forms.
100%.
Yeah. So, and that's why we have to be honest about it. I mean, you're talking about, how this generation is different. We have to be open with each other so we don't turn into those type of parents or just people in general,
Or recognizing that it could be the generational curse. This could be the curse that, you need to break. And I believe for me, stepping away from my father, I'm breaking the generational curse of not being a good parent.
Right.
Just good, basic parenting.
Right.
And taking accountability, for your kids, and being open and honest with them.
Because you have, as you call him, your bonus son, right?
Yeah, I do.
And so do you ever think about the things that you went through with your dad when you're like interacting with Babo?
I do. All the time, constantly, he's 13 and I don't have biological kids of my own. Mm-hmm. So, I can talk to him, or I do talk to him in a way that is not, it's maternal,
right,
but it's more of a friend.
Right.
There's a rule in our house. Fuck around and find out.
Uh-huh.
And I tell him that all the time.
You should get that like on a floor mat.
Wipe
your feet before you go.
That'd
be a hell of a thing to read while you're wiping your feet.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just letting you know, like, hey, look, I appreciate you doing the respectful thing of wiping your feet, but also know this.
Yeah, exactly. So that is our household motto.
Fuck around and find
out.
Fuck
around and find out.
Sounds like a problem solver to me.
You're gonna lie to me about not doing your homework. Okay. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell us, exactly what's going on. Okay, you're going to fuck around and find out.
And at the same time, though, I mean, that's really just a rule for him, right? Because he can't say that to you, right?
No. He's like, Kimmie T, mess around and find out. I'm like, yeah. Okay. But I these kids, they're so smart.
Yeah. Because they're exposed to so much information, all the time. Compared to us when we were kids, like 30 years ago, it was not the same.
There's nothing, even if he can't spell fuck, and if he puts F-U-K in Google, he'll be like, oh, that's what she's trying to say.
Right.
So it's a matter of just being real, being honest, and, being that place where he knows that it's a safe place to come talk to me.
Yeah.
And him and I have sidebar conversations, all the time, and he knows that he can trust me. He knows. And
do you feel like maybe, I mean, I don't know, because this is a unique situation, so you obviously, like, you as the person who lived this, it makes me wonder, do you feel like maybe there's some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Closure as a stepmom? Due to like what happened earlier on in your life with your dad, like you're fixing some things in a way by doing the right thing with somebody that you're looking over or looking after?
Closure? I don't know if closure is it. Is it cause and effect? Yeah. It's the impact.
Right.
Of me making this decision.
Because it could have went the completely other direction. Like,
right.
Like your dad could have been, the dad that he was, mm-hmm. and then you end up being like a spiteful person. Mm-hmm. Or such a hurt person that you want to hurt other people. I mean, there's
a chance that I could have not even gotten in a relationship with a man with a kid.
Right.
Because of my own unresolved issues with my own father, Exactly. And when I see the father and son dynamic, and I'm like, well, maybe you should ask him a little bit more. Like, I push his dad.
Yeah.
I push his father.
There you go.
A little bit more, and I give him advice from the third party, but I remind him all the time, and I'm like, well, I think you should talk to him about this, and his dad is incredible, absolutely incredible. We don't miss a single game. You know, we're present for all that kind of stuff. So I don't have. It's not a repeat situation.
Right.
But now that you mention it, I will openly say that my exes emulated a lot of the same behavior as my father.
Okay.
And I think in that point, trying to be the fixer, saying, okay, I recognize this kind of behavior. Okay, it's familiar to me. Okay. But then it should gross you out that the man that you're dating reminds you of your father. And I was like, look at how your mom and dad ended up. That's not good.
Right.
Why are you setting yourself up?
You're trying to emulate that.
You're going on the fast track. You're heading that way, kid. And it happened at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, once I cut my dad off, my taste in men changed.
You know, there's got to be a deep correlation there.
100%.
And it may be inexplicable. I know it's hard to articulate because it's like you can't see. They're like connected. They're binded together. Those two realities. As much as we try to avoid it, there's such a great probability that the relationship that you see at home and the people that you see at home are going to shape the path that you take towards other people in the future.
Without a doubt.
It's incredible.
I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, when it came to my ex, I was like, we know how this story ends.
Right.
Look at your mom and your dad. We see like, whoa. And that was enough.
Yeah.
And that was it. And, you know, what things that mattered before didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and things that I didn't think mattered started to count, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Started to count a lot more, you know? I was I was a lot more selfish. It was a lot more surface, you know, with my exes. It wasn't really the deep dive kind of emotional responsibility. You know, you think you're just, you know, go, yeah, everything's fine. But, you know, when you're serious about somebody, like, you have to really kind of be accountable for people's emotions.
Being serious with somebody is very different than just being familiar with the situation.
Yeah.
You could just hamster wheel, you know?
Oh, totally.
You're not getting anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But being serious with somebody, that's when you kind of like wake up, you know?
Yeah.
I want to ask you this. How would you describe yourself, just in a few words? You know, they could just be random words. How would you describe yourself before or during, you know, your situation, your tragic tale? And then give me a few words on how you would describe yourself after. And you know, to describe yourself as you know, the person that came out on the other side.
Okay, so before I was
in regards to your dad. Obviously.
No, yeah. So I think before I was you could be hopeless and hopeful at the same time. I was wishful thinking. So like naive. I think I was naive. I was definitely a lot more, I'm going to say like, this is a good question, Rudy.
Yeah, just, you know, I'm curious to see how you would describe yourself, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a lot more able to be like easy prey. I don't know, because like
vulnerable?
But vulnerable in a stupid way, not vulnerable, like naive. Vulnerable in a point like bobbleheading around and not self-deprecating, because it wasn't I was sad. I was definitely sad. And you know, you kind of feel like that feeling. There needs to be a word with it. I'm sure there's one in a different language. When you know that you're living a lie.
Like imposter. Like,
you know people describe
imposter syndrome. You know?
I guess that could be it.
Imposter syndrome of
totally
love
fake.
of the heart.
Like totally fake. You know, I was faking this. I was just being fake and just naive and really susceptible, because I believe if I was taking and accepting, I feel like I'm using the same words. If I was accepting this bullshit behavior in my life, then I was accepting it from other things in my life.
Yeah.
You know, where this was, you know, it's like a dam has a crack in it.
Yeah.
And no matter what, the water's still getting through.
Right.
You know, and easily to like just accepting of mediocrity.
Right.
You know, like, it's okay. Oh, it's all right. It's okay. I got it. Like, just that kind of pushover.
Pushover.
Yeah.
And how would you describe yourself at the end of all of it?
Much wiser. I'm smart. I'm smarter. I'm smarter in the point where I can like focus. It gave me focus. The whole notion of trying to maintain this facade of who my father was a distraction.
Yes.
So once, that ended.
And taxing.
Yeah. So once that ended, I had a lot more headspace. The static was gone. Like when you're trying to like tune a radio station,
clear.
And no matter what it is, it's not coming in. And like once you realize, okay, it's just not going to work. Like listen to something else. In the beginning, I think I made me a little mean, just like a little. I was pissed off. That it had to come to this point where. I had to make a decision, but it's like you got to cut off the finger before you lose the hand.
Right.
And, nobody wants to walk around with their finger missing, but I mean, it's like,
that's your Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott don't give a fuck.
Right, exactly.
7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He was like, fuck it. We're going to thug it out.
Right. But I mean, look at the payoff that he get. So
sometimes you got to thug it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't like this immediate 180, like bounce back. Here I am. I had to have like that emotional funeral, even though I know he's alive and kicking and well and everything, but it's still that funeral for like that little girl who held this man in such a high regard, and you just have to come to that moment where you're like, he's not there anymore. We have
to bury our old selves in life. This is part of our process, with our evolving. We have to bury our old selves. Like when a snake gets rid of his skin, you gotta that shit's gotta go.
Yeah. And there used to be a time where I couldn't tell this story without crying, but now I look at it as a tool to help people.
Absolutely.
Because it's you hate to see like, oh, I'm the parent, I'm the child of a narcissist and blah blah blah. Like I don't want to bundle myself into that pack, but it's clearly what a clinical diagnosis would say. Oh, your father's a narcissist. Yeah. Okay, fine and dandy. But this is what he did, XYZ, ABC. But to people out there who do identify and saying, you know what, I'm the child, of a narcissist. Well, I can tell you what I did. Right. I can tell you what I did too. I don't let it label me.
Right.
It's not something that I just bring up, in everyday conversation. Hey guys, guess what?
Check this out. Hey, want to feel like shit for about 20 minutes? Let me tell you a sad ass story.
Yeah.
No, but you're right though, because all parts of our life, they make us, Kimmie, but they don't necessarily define us. You know what I mean? It's part of our story, but it doesn't mean that this is all that I am, and this is going to for sure determine every single thing that I do,
Yeah.
But it's up to us to make that distinction.
100%. And it's helped me because, if I can accept this, I can accept a lot. When things happen and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like I don't let, a lot of things don't get me off my square.
Yeah.
And I think because my father was taking up so much of my square that once he's gone, I could, reclaim my space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, when things happen to me, I let them happen. I'll take the bump.
Yeah.
But I don't get hysterical. I don't let that emotion take over, because I was letting my emotions take over and not accepting the fact that this guy is not living up to his end of the deal. And I was like, so, it's been one of the best decisions of my life, albeit one of the most painful and things that you
hardest.
Yeah. You couldn't have told 10-year-old me, okay, guess what? Right. When you're 35, you're going to have to do something really big.
Right.
But guess what? It's all going to be worth it because, the pain and the embarrassment and the questions and the what ifs, are all going to be washed away.
Absolutely. Man, I really appreciate you sharing with that with us, Kimmie. This is what I want to do this podcast for, so I could hear storytellers tell their story, and I super appreciate it. You, all the guests that do the podcast always get the final word. So if you want to say something, anything, any message you want to put out to the world, whatever you're compelled to say, you get the final word before we wrap it up.
What would I say
What
to
would
the
you say?
world?
Yeah, you had one message to tell them.
What would I say to the world? I would tell the world, just do it. Do it.
Okay, Nike.
Whatever it is. Not like just things are going to happen. Things are going to happen to you that you want. And the package might not look like what you think it is. You know what I mean? But if you know what you want, go for it. And I'm going to tell you the way that you make things happen is by writing them down. I believe that when you put paper to pen or put fingers to keyboard and you write down or type out what you want, you're going to get it. And in some instances, it's going to happen faster than you know. It might take a little while longer, but the only way that things happen is if you get it out of your brain and put it on some sort of documentation. Because the universe, God, whoever what do you want to say, they're going to read it. They're going to read the note. And the answer, or what you want, it's not going to come in the package that you expect, but it's going to be exactly what you want. You know, it's like an Amazon box. It's ugly. It's brown. It's got tape. But once you open the box, you're like, there's exactly what I want.
Sometimes it shows up later than you thought.
Exactly.
Sometimes it ends up on the neighbor's porch. You know,
Right.
You got to walk over there and get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, go for it. Go for whatever it is. And don't you stop doing this podcast. Follow your dreams. Do it.
Absolutely.
It's all worth it.
Kimmie, I super appreciate you.
I appreciate you
Thank
too,
you so much
my
for coming.
friend.
The Instagram is at Royal Highness, correct?
Yes, it is. HIGHNESS. It is for sale.
Nice.
It's the only reason why I'm keeping it.
We out here selling fucking handles. What's up?
I've had clothing companies and jewelry companies ask me for $500 for my Instagram. I'm like, there's no way.
Are you doing this like on purpose? Are you like buying, or are you making handles so you can sell them one day?
I do buy
That'd be pretty fucking brilliant.
I do.
Dude,
you know me
this
with
is next level hustling. Bro, it's like everybody needs handles, right? In 2021.
And domains.
Just collect them. Handles and domains.
I have domains.
Damn.
Yeah.
If y'all watch this whole podcast, just know that the gem at the end was this fucking hustle.
Yeah.
That Kimmie T has just blessed all of you with.
It's for sale. I don't care. I'm not attached to it.
That should be the name of your podcast. It's for sale.
It's for sale.
Kimmie T,
Rudy
super
L.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. Pierce, my super producer, thank you
Thanks,
again as always.
Pierce.
And the whole world out there, YouTube, Instagram, you know what it is. Tragic Podcast with the one and only Kimmie T. See y'all next time. Good luck and good night.
Peace.
Smile, pick up your head. It's alright, it's gonna be okay. I know times have been so rough,